Welcome to Mind and Your Business with me, Monie Wilder, the podcast I wish I would have had when I started my career. As a mom and top producing real estate agent with close to 1,000 homes sold in under 8 years, I'll be diving into the mindset and strategies of how to create your business so that it authentically complements your life. I'm so glad you're here. Hey guys, welcome to Mind and Your Business with Monie Wilder. I'm so excited to be here today because we have a super guest, and this is actually, this is my first guest. You're my first guest, so I'm happy to have you. This is Klaus. I want to go straight into this conversation, but before I do, I have to say that there is an off-camera person. She's my producer, handler. Her name's Heidi. Say hi. Because there could be this voice from beyond.
I'm really excited about this interview. I saw you guys connect, and I'm a huge fan of Kenny's, and so I'm super excited about today.
Okay, awesome. Well, Kenny, thank you so much for being here. So I think that the best way to kind of introduce you is to have you introduce yourself, but talk about, I think the first thing to get into is you're clearly a family man. Tell us about your family. Tell us just about you.
Yeah, so Klaus, just started my 25th year in the real estate space, which feels really weird to say because it doesn't quite feel like it, but this business will age you, that's for sure. So, been married. We'll celebrate our 26th anniversary this year, 29 together. We have 4 kids, and the youngest being 22, 24, who's our nurse, and then Kayla and Tyler are older too. So, and then from there we have 5 grandkids, which is truly the reward for not killing our kids, right? So you get all the upside and all the fun and give them back. But no, life is it's work is just the vehicle to fund the perfect life, if you will. And so I think we all get that confused at times, and I know I had early on, because when you're moving in an upward trajectory, it's hard to stop, especially when you're in a commission-based business where you wake up every day unemployed, right? It's a little motivating. But then realizing that, time is not, it's not infinite. It's undefeated. It's going to win at some point. And so just kind of enjoying the journey and really focusing on just memories. And I read a book on it, and he used the word investing in memories. And of course I love investing. And so I was like, well, invest in memories. What does that mean to me? And so it's just really being very purposeful with our time and who we give it to, and living the life that we want, by choice. I lost my mom Thanksgiving morning this last year. And, that was, a tough, 7-year run with this Alzheimer's stuff. But you realize, you try to find something good out of every negative. And you realize during that journey, all she wanted was time, stuff didn't matter. And at the end of the day, no matter how prideful we are or whatever, the houses we all live in today will be somebody else's someday. The cars we drive will be somebody else's. So don't get too attached to the material stuff. Focus on the memories, because when you're at end of life, that's really all you have left is the memories, and the memories you leave with people. So to me, that's just been a big focus. Wish I would have kind of realized it a little bit sooner in life, but I started a Facebook page called Live With No Regrets, and it's really live with no regrets going forward, right? It's living life, and you can always accumulate stuff, but time you can't get back.
Right. And so you're already getting into exactly why I wanted to have you on, because my purpose with this podcast, and I'm just starting it, and I'm still just trying to even feel what is it supposed to be, but I really want to help people in this industry get focused on what's really important and create a life by design, instead of getting caught up in that because it's commission only. You wake up every day unemployed, like you said, and now you're caught up in this kind of hamster wheel, and it can be very easy to not pick your head up and realize that your life is happening, whether or not you realize it or not, and time is passing. And like you said, time is undefeated. Mm-hmm. So the other day when we did that speaking engagement together and you spoke, it really resonated with me. And so I thought it would be so helpful for people who are listening to hear your perspectives and the wisdom that you have. So can you start by sharing, how did you get into real estate? How did you start this career 25 years ago, 26 years ago?
Well, I've always been, I feel like very competitive, whatever I do, and I want to be the best or shoot to be the best. And so, my first job was fries, bagging groceries, and I took that very serious. And most people don't know that they had a bagging competition, and so I of course entered that and ended up winning it for the state. And it was just kind of
what? Are you serious?
Yeah, like how perfect you can make it. And back then we only had paper, but but interestingly about it, I guess my point with it is not so much that, it's that whatever you are doing, just give it your best. I don't care what you're doing, because there's always lessons learned along the journey. And so even if you're, fast food person or you're working at a restaurant or whatever you're doing, just strive to be the best at what you're doing, because character reveals itself and you don't know who's watching and who's around you. Right. Then I spent 13 years at FedEx, which taught me so much from a structure standpoint, systems and models. And then I spent 4 years part-time doing real estate part-time as I was trying to build that business so that I could get out of the rat race of an employer relationship. And that was a long process. 4 years was a long time. I did pretty well, pretty quickly. But our goal was just to have no debt and have $10,000 in the bank so that I could eventually quit. And so me and my wife were both full-time. She went part-time. I eventually went part-time. Then she got out completely, was able to stay home. Then, we had 2 more kids. And then for me, I went really part-time, but so I could keep full benefits. So it was a 4-year process, but the goal was to have no debt and have, some money in the bank. And we accomplished that and beyond, but it gave me the confidence that, that I can go do this. But I didn't take it lightly, because it's a scary, scary business, of course, for some. But I just felt like if you do the right thing, you work hard, you continue to grow as a person, both personally and professionally, the money just becomes a byproduct of doing the right thing consistently. And so just always focused on that part of it. I've obviously failed forward. I've never thought about, the position you'd be in at the time. You're just out helping people buy and sell houses. And then all of a sudden you have an abundance of leads, and you start recruiting people or hiring people, and you don't know what you're doing. I was a terrible leader for a lot of years, and not saying I'm great now, but I feel humble enough and open enough to want to learn and get better. And so I think a lot of people's last formal education, a lot of times could just have been high school, could have been a little bit of college, or maybe a little beyond, but then they kind of quit learning and they just take the world for what it is. For me, it's a responsibility to read on leadership, read on, even taxes and understanding tax strategies and things that are out there that we just don't necessarily know. We're so busy working. Yeah. And there's a point where you're working for your money, and you can switch that to where your money's working for you, and you have choice, and that opens up choice. And that was the big thing to me, is life's all about choices, right? If you make enough of the right ones, you earn more. You make enough of the wrong ones and you run out. Yeah. And it's not always easy, especially today. I think it's harder than ever with social media and what is perceived out there from people and how successful they are, and cars and boats and just lifestyles and stuff. And really, for most people that I know, what's in front of the curtain and behind the curtain don't always line up. Yeah. They have this facade, but the reality of it is may not be happy. And you hope people are, but a quality of life was important to me. And when I have so much time here, and this afternoon's not given, so we've got to do the best we can with what we have. But I think it comes down to personal responsibility, personal growth. I've always said you're your number one asset. Your business and your world grows to the extent that you grow, and you're like grass. You're either growing or you're dying. So if you're not working on you, I just feel like so many people, especially in our industry, spend so much time looking out the window instead of looking in the mirror. And usually the solution's right in front of you. Right. You just don't want to be honest. You want to push blame to somebody else instead of saying, how many handwritten notes did I do today? How many people did I call? How many organizations am I in? How many people have I got face to face with? And when you answer those questions, usually it's not the company, not the team, not the
lead quality. It's you.
The lead quality, all of that. It's just more, am I being the best version of me? And you owe it to your family and your friends to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah. So I have a question for you that wasn't part of our planned question, but how did you get to that personal responsibility mindset? So you were working for FedEx, you stumbled upon real estate as a potential career. So I want to hear about how that happened, or what caused you to be you know what, I'm going to do real estate. But then where does this ownership come from for you? How did you develop that?
Well, it's interesting. I go back to childhood, quite honestly, and my dad and mom, and even though they divorced when I was like 12, they still, kept the family together in a sense where we shared time and that. But more of it, my dad was not. Nothing was going to be given to you, and at the time you hate it because I went to Catholic grade school, high school, and you had friends who, had nicer stuff and had things, and that just wasn't us. But it wasn't that we had anything bad, but we, very competitive, sports, he coached me, but just high accountability. I mean, chores were first and then screw off. And I feel like today's world, everybody screws off and then tries to get to what they're supposed to do.
Right.
And they reverse the order. And, so I'd say high accountability. He went and applied when I was 14 at Fry's to bag groceries. Of course, back then we didn't have technology, so they didn't know how to verify any of it. So I was turning 15, but he told him I was turning 16. And so I worked a full year in a month under 16, and nobody knew that at the time. But it's just the work ethic. It's just what I was taught. I went to school all week, played sports, and then get up and work 16 hours, 8-hour days, Saturday and Sunday. And I don't say that as a boo-hoo. It helped, when you ask it, to help shape me who I am today. Yeah. But it wasn't easy at the time. But when you don't know any different, it's just what it is.
Right.
And, my mom was the nurturer and it's going to be okay. And, in those things. And then I think, like I said, from there, it's just my competitiveness. And then I reached a ceiling of achievement in my own life where I was having success in sales, and, 0405 came along, and, all of a sudden you're making money you never thought you could make. But you realize I'm losing because, I'm not happy, like at home and other places. And you went, is this really where I want to be? But yet people are counting on you, and your drive is to serve. And then I went to a Brian Buffini event here in Phoenix. Someone forced me to go, quite honestly. And I went. I ended up staying the night down there in the same outfit I wore the next day because I was like, this thing is amazing. I'd never been around kind of personal growth. I'd always just been driven. Yeah. And he spoke to me with the, calls, notes, Popeyes, relationship building, serving. And it just really changed where I just poured into education. And we're like 16 years into going to his mastermind every year in August, just me and my wife, it's not real estate related, just more personal growth. Yeah. So just, not just talking about it, but taking action on these things. And quite honestly, failing forward. The fastest way to success is fail faster. You know what not to do and how to get to where you want. And how you make people feel and how you treat people. And like I said, I've failed at that many, many times over my journey, not purposely. It just, you get in situations, life happens. But the key is, what do I learn from that, and how do I get better, and how do I not allow that to happen again? And I'm seeing a lot more of that show up in my life today. Just, if you haven't read Emotional Intelligence 2.0, your EQ is such a driver in business. Your ability to handle challenges and frustrations and setbacks and not lose your stuff. And, we've all been there. And yet once you recognize and understand it, it gives you the opportunity to do something about it. And ultimately that's, what I've really tried to focus. And by far not anywhere near perfect, but just always the idea that there's always something to learn from every situation.
Yeah. One of the things that I have noticed be somewhat of a, something that kind of draws a line in the sand between those in our industry that are really successful and those that aren't, is their ability to relate to failure in a positive way. And that's what I'm really hearing you say, is like not being afraid of it, but almost running towards it, realizing it's part of the process, one, and then like not accepting it, but just saying, okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to learn from it so that it doesn't happen again. But I'm also not going to make it cause me to feel, like I'm bad, or I'm not going to continue, or I'm the worst. So am I capturing that right? Is that how you think about failure? Yeah,
it's not your identity. It's a piece. It's not the whole. It's you failed at something. And you want to take ownership of it, that what can I learn and get better, but it's not me. If I make a mistake, I know where my heart is and where my intentions are. I just got to get back on track. And I think, forgiveness and those things we hear about, and it's so freeing when you get to that point, and being humble enough to admit a mistake. A lot of people don't do that, and it wears on them forever, and it just ruins relationships. And to me, at the end of the day, we're in the relationship business.
Correct.
And at from our peers to our clients to everybody, and so much of it is, competition, and yet we're really cooperating is what the term is in our industry. And so, I just think too many people, get pride in the way, and it costs long-term relationships. And, I've still got stuff I need to fix and get better, but I'm open to learning and getting better every day. And you look at every setback or a failure as just an opportunity to learn and grow forward. And it's hard sometimes when you're in the middle of it, right? Like my mom going through that and Alzheimer's, I had no idea what that even was really. And then to watch that journey, I just have to go, what's the positive I can take out of this? Well, what she would want me to learn is, go live your life now. Go do things that you want to do. You've saved, you've worked hard, and still help other people be successful. So, Zig always has said, to get what you want in life, help enough other people get what they want. And you hear it differently at different times in your life. And now it's just like my sole purpose is I take some of what I've learned in knowledge and opportunity and how do you help others create that life? And that'll wear you out sometimes too, because they don't always want it as bad as you do.
That's correct.
And so, but you have to keep going, because you have to know there are good people who still will value the relationship and what you can bring to the table, both sides. And I think that's the important part. And at the end, that your kids want to hang out with you, that they want to be with you. To me, that's truly what success is about, is that you have those friendships and relationships, and you use stuff as just a tool to bring people together and as a community, and to share with people, not look what I have, look at me, that kind of stuff. It's just not my nature.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk a little bit about your business in particular, because I think it's super interesting and how you've used that business to create the life you want, to design what feels best for you. So I know that you went from FedEx to kind of a route. Like you talked about how you understood routes. And so you applied that in starting your real estate business. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like that was something I'd never heard before. Yeah.
So, being the FedEx guy for 13 years, you start off as what they call a swing driver, which is you're out covering routes for those who are sick and vacation. It's very difficult because you're always in different parts of the valley. You don't know the client, whether you deliver to the front, to the back, all the things probably people don't even think about, but it stalls you, and it ruins kind of the customer experience. And then you get your own route someday, and now all of a sudden you're the favorite and you're the guy, and how to take care of people, but the efficiencies, the knowledge, all of those things it just changes. So when I got into real estate, after my second year, when I really started to get momentum, I'm like, well, I'm going to start working this area where we were going to buy a house. And I just thought it makes a lot of sense to me just to run a route around here and get to know the businesses, the houses, the new construction, the clubs, organization, everything that's happening in this area seems a lot more efficient because the valley is very spread out. I mean, heck, just parking here today was tough, right? I mean, there's a lot of people. And
sorry about that.
When you're all over the place, how good can you become at serving that area, that community, that neighborhood? And I think you still can to some degree, but there's something about someone who's really focuses on an area. So I just started a little newsletter in a community called Augusta Ranch, about 1,700 homes, and did that for like 2 years straight. And it started to get some momentum, which led to another neighborhood and another. And then we started doing it based on zip code. But it was all me in the beginning. I don't say we grew into that as you started to have business. But it just made a lot of sense to me production wise that I could just be in a geographic area and just do a lot of business. So I wanted to build that foundation first, but I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't track a lot of it. I sent out this newsletter. I got a lead the very first month, and then I went 7 months without anything. Didn't track a lot of this because I didn't know any better. Yeah. But there was a lot of quitting points along that journey, but I believed I was doing the right thing, and I believed that if I could do this, I can't quit. I have to do 12 months of this. But you had to be genuine in what you were doing. And so it was content that the community was reading. And over time, it paid dividends for me, and it grew, and it gave me a more of a predictable, repeatable business in a very unpredictable business. Most agents, it looks like one of those heart monitors, right? Up and down, versus how do we make sure that we have 250 listing appointments a year in a geographic area? Well, we do the right things. We get community involvement. We give to receive. We teach a lot of educational stuff. And over time, what happens, I built a trusted audience. And so even when the short sale foreclosure market hit, it was like, I didn't want to mess with that stuff, but then I realized people need it and they need a trusted advisor more than ever. And so we started doing workshops. And so we just use the newsletter. It never has changed, just the content we've had to adapt to whatever the market is. So it felt good. You get face to face with people and when they're ready to do business, they remember those things.
Right. And do you still, so that was back in the day. So are you still doing that? Yeah,
nothing has changed other than growth. So I actually own 103 zip codes in the Valley. And so we market based on like 85209.com, 85212. We're getting ready to launch a couple more just because I finally got a model that I think we've figured out how to make it more expandable and create opportunities for agents to kind of dominate a zip code or an area with the model that we've built.
So agents on your team?
Yeah, agents that have, that once they've earned the opportunity, right? Now you don't come in and hey, I'm going to do this, unless it's someone seasoned that, has had the experiences, but a lot of newer, we have different opportunities and they'll earn those over time, but it's by showing up and pouring in and being coachable and those things because we spend a lot of time, money, and energy to put things in place to help people get better, but they've got to want it. And we said it earlier, but sometimes you feel like, man, I want it for them more than they do for them. So maybe they're not in the right business. And sometimes it's okay to, reintroduce them to the market, if you will. It's just not a good fit. And, it's time and energy and your time as we talked about earlier, is you only have so much of it. So where you give it and who you give it to matters and it's important. So
I have a question for you. Not on the lines of what we thought we were going to talk about, but you as a team leader who's been leading a team a lot longer than me. So you've said, they got to want it more than you. And right now I feel like I'm going through, my team, which I love, and I have a very small team, but I feel that way a lot. And part of me has convinced myself to be like, well, that's why I'm the team leader and they're not. But is that how you think about that? Or like, when do you know that it's okay for them to somewhat be more like looking for you to lead them or kind of pull them along versus being like, hey, we're not a good fit? Like, where's your line with that?
Well, and we interviewed someone this morning we really talked about this interdependent model where, we want 50% of your business eventually to come from your sources in your sphere and 50% from the team. And together we create a nice, consistent model.
Yeah.
But we really want to encourage them to, like, we have a whole rack of, handwritten note cards in the office. They should be, we pay for the postage. All you gotta do is write the note. Like, you've got to build these relationships over time because we want you to have your own business within. And if that means someday you leave, fantastic. We're going to help you as long as you communicate and you don't, pack up overnight type stuff. Like, we'll help you if you want to start your own team or you want to do those things. I think that the models in the past have been so stringent, and I think the technology in our space and some of the changes, even the way companies are structured today, is so different that it's opened up, well, I can't have my team within your team. Yeah, we can. We can figure that out. You can keep your brand, you can do these things, and we'll just provide a platform of support for you. Because, it's very expensive to have, all these salaries and building and moving trucks and all this stuff we have. But our goal is that, we want them to be thought leaders. So we're not trying to solve every problem for them.
Right.
We'll help them discover how to solve it, but we want people to think on their own and become leaders because that's how they value it more that way. And they're going to stay longer when you're pouring into them, book clubs and just different things that you could do to help them personally grow.
Yeah.
And then business along the way. So, when Ty's coaching with them, part of it's on personal. Like, how's your personal life? What are you doing here? Because if you're not happy at home, you're not happy at work. If you're not happy at work,
Correct.
You're not happy at home. So how do we help them balance? And a lot of times our coaching calls, quite honestly, are they're not even, related to real estate. It's just life. Like, this is what's happening in my life. Like, what's got you? It's not, you feel like it's us and it's like, no, it's not you guys. I have this going on or this financial thing. Well, how can we help you with this and help guide you through it? And those people, they're always going to have success long-term. It's the people who just keep pointing the finger and yet, like we said, don't look in the mirror themselves.
Right.
There's a lot to learn for that. But I think if you genuinely come from contribution and abundance, not scarcity, where we will help people knowing that someday they may not be here and they're going to take a lot of this stuff. But if you do it right, there's so much business out there. There's so much opportunity, especially in the Phoenix market. I don't sweat the small stuff. I can't say I haven't at one point in my life, but this is where wisdom comes from. And we all have those mentors in our life. And for whatever reason, we don't listen to wisdom sometimes until it's too late. And when you look up to someone or you have people in your life that, is that person, I just go do it. Like, I don't even question. We have a mutual friend, Steve Chater, and he's been a mentor and a leader, so well respected and such a kind, giving person. And I just remember one day I was in his office. I saw a book on his desk. This was before Audible and all that, so dating us a little, and I left there and went to Barnes & Noble and bought it and read it. And I won't even go down that road to what happened after that, but the story just, you start to go, there's wisdom here. I got to quit trying to do all this myself and learn a little bit from them and then personalize it, but learn first, because there's a lot of great people out there, but it's a smaller number than the whole, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
Hey, so something we have in common is we both recently just decided to make changes in our brokerages, and both of us were like pretty like flagship type people in our worlds.
Yep.
So I wanted to ask you, what were the factors that you considered? What were the things that really caused you to say, you know what, it's time for me to make a change? I'm just curious what your thought process was around it.
One of your jobs as a team leader is visionary for the team and what's next. And, I kind of missed some of the REO days and that. And I thought, man, I had my head down. I wasn't paying attention to apply with these banks. And there's a lot of people who did a lot of business during that time. And we kind of caught on towards the end. And then short sales, I'm like, well, we got to figure this out. So for me, it was it's adapting. And it's funny because I get tagged with that sometimes now. Like, you're always adapting, and it's the one thing he does. He's always, we want consistency, but the ability to adapt. So we're not changing our standards; we're just adapting to the current models. And Open Door is a great example. When they came to town, I was one of those guys. Screw those guys. I don't. They're trying to take us out. All those things, and then I met with them and had a very humbling, real conversation. These are real people that actually have a tool that. Why I'm upset is because they're taking some clients and whose fault is that?
Right.
And so it was like, well, let's just put the elephant in the room instead of act like it's not there. And let's talk about, hey, have you heard of these companies? Oh yeah. And then it was like, well, let me get you that offer. And all of a sudden it changed. And, there was some flag from agents. Like, I can't believe that. And I was like, I know I'm doing the right thing for the client. Right. Whether I make less money or not, if I'm serving the client's best interest, it's the relationship that I care about. Because we know statistically, everybody knows 278 people. So I may make a little less, but I take care of them. Right. Are they more likely to go tell 3, 4, 5 people over time or more, hopefully? And so I think just adapting. And so as these models have come out, I can't say enough good things about Keller Williams and what Gary personally has done for me in my life, teaching me to become a business owner. I own multiple other businesses today because of it. I can't say enough. And it was a struggle. And, other companies came into the market first, and a lot of people went there, and I looked and I'm like, nope, that's not me. I'm not just following the herd and jumping. I have to know that it's right. And I'm not saying there isn't time to be an early adopter, but that was really it. And I flew out and spent time with Gary. And during this process, it took me about 8 months to make this decision. I didn't take it lightly. Spent a lot of time interviewing with all the companies, because this time I'm like, I got time. Let me figure out the best model that I think provides the best opportunity. And it's interesting because it's not the best opportunity for me. It's the best opportunity for my teammates and our clients. And if we're still going to sell real estate, but we can create other opportunities, revenue streams and opportunities, it was like, well, then that makes sense. Because at the end of the day, we know how to do real estate. We have to be in production. At the end of the day, without production, none of the rest of this matters.
Right.
And so focused on collaboration and that in the company that we chose had a lot of those things and yet is still kind of newer where there's opportunity to be part of that culture and help build that from the ground up. So that's exciting to me too, that opportunity, but really what it's doing for our agents and quite honestly for me long-term, if it goes like it looks like, you're doing the same thing and you're just creating additional revenue streams. And to me, that's kind of the name of the game anymore. You see it with mortgage, title, insurance. Everybody's trying to get a little piece of everything. I'm just like, if I can just do the same thing and do it at a higher level even and help people, then this could be a great model for us. So yeah, we're actually 3 weeks today, so we're relatively new to moving over, but so far everything's been first class, very high tech stuff, and great collaboration so far. So
awesome. And you mentioned something that I definitely wanted to talk about too, was like your additional revenue streams. So I know you've got real estate, but you have other businesses that I think this is super interesting. Can you talk about your other businesses and like how that even happened?
Yeah. So in 2005, of course, we were making money I'd never made before. The market went crazy and some buddies, our buddy, my best friend still today since third grade, he said, hey, they're doing this restaurant in San Diego. Do you want to invest in it with them? Because me and him had done a lot together. And I'm like, yeah, sounds fun. Because, back then that's where we always went, to San Diego. I was like, well, this will be fun. I can write off my trips and stuff. And so we invested. And then, of course, the market crashed 2008. And two of the main partners were mortgage guys. And kind of me and my partner ended up taking over the whole thing, just me and him. And so, but I was absentee. I was just kind of more investor and go enjoy it. And about 3 years ago, someone came along and made us an offer. And we ended up selling that one. Through that process, another buddy of mine here locally said, hey, this place went out of business. What do you think about taking it over? Of course, I'd never been in the restaurant space, never even a server, not a dishwasher, none of it. I bagged groceries and then FedEx. So but I love business and had a community room that I thought, man, I can use this. And it was in my farm area. I was like, I could use this as a meeting point. And for those who have read 7 Levels of Communication, Michael Mayer, and he's actually been to a couple of our restaurants. We're pretty good friends. And he's like, man, you're the only one who actually took my book even further. And you actually just bought the restaurant. And I was like, yeah, I know real estate agents and loan officers and they like to eat and drink. And so, why not just keep it in house? But, so that's led to 5 of those now. And then I just invested in a 6th one, but I'll be an investor in, not majority owner of, and so they're fun. It's the people business too. Whether you're selling burgers and wings or houses, it's still succeeding through other people and same concepts. I'm a big, if you're familiar with 212 or 212 degrees. So at 211 degrees, water's hot. At 212, it boils. Boiling water creates steam, and steam is powerful enough to move a locomotive. It's that one extra degree. And I found that in 2005, and it just really changed a lot. 2005 was a big year for me. Personal growth wise. And so I have it tattooed. It's my license plate. It's Living 212. It's that whole idea of just whatever you're going to do, just give it that little extra degree. Everyone, we teach average today, right?
Yeah.
The average GPA, average this. Would you ever look down at your precious little kid and go, honey, I just want you to grow up to be average? No, but why do we shoot for that? So you aim a little higher, and 212 is just that idea of just a little bit more. I could do this, but I could make 2 more calls. I could make 1 more call. I could do 1 more push-up. I could do 1 more. And, Ed Milet now has the power of 1. And it's the same concept. And we were sitting in convention, me and Ty, and he looks at me and he's like, this is 212. And I'm like, it is. It's however you want to look at it. It's just that extra little degree. So even our restaurants, happy hours, it starts at 212 every day, of course.
Oh my gosh, how cool. I love it.
Because you want that constant reminder, right? You get into things and then you distance and you forget, but that repetition. And so, for us, that was kind of it. And, from there has created other opportunities, short-term rentals we have in Mexico. We're actually closing in a week on a new one in Nashville on the river, a lake house. We've always kind of dreamed of owning someday, but this way it's really like buying a business that comes with a house. And so, and then we have a construction business that we support. We're a licensed general contractor. We support our real estate world with all the Benzers and all that. Everything's on one invoice.
How
it's
nice.
Licensed contractor.
Very cool. And
that person goes out and does all the bidding and everything. So like as agents, I'm not meeting 7 different contractors and all my time. So that's been an efficiency that, our team utilizes quite a bit. A couple property managers. And I've got a couple other things in the works right now, but, part of mortgage and that, but yeah, it's just fun, opportunities. I always say actions equal opportunities. If you're not taking action, don't expect opportunities. But when you're out doing things, you don't do it necessarily on purpose, but just things happen over time. People
Yeah.
get to know you, and people respect work ethic over time because it's getting rarer and rarer.
That's very true. How is it that you know what opportunity to take and which opportunity not to take? Like, how do you navigate that?
And that's the hardest part, I think, with having some success and growth is there's no shortage of opportunities.
Right.
And
I know. That's why I'm asking you.
And Gary's always taught us, like, true north, does it support your main business? So, and for me, mortgage, title, insurance, that all supports that. Hub Home Services, that supported that. The contracting side. The restaurants was like sideways. Like, how does that fit? And it's like, well, but people do lunches all the time. People need to eat. And so that's probably one of the more risky ones, but it's worked out. But I've lost money. I've lost more money than I care to talk about. And a lot of it was just getting into things that I didn't know. I was operating emotionally. It was exciting, or ego. It felt good to say I owned that. And then you realize it doesn't really matter if it doesn't do anything or make any money. So it's just more of kind of that emotional quotient, like removing the emotions and putting things on paper and then sleeping on it. A lot of it is just give it some time. If it's meant to be, it's still going to be there. And so to me, that was important. Even we talked about moving companies. I mean, this was not taken lightly. This was not overnight. There's a lot of great relationships. And I honestly think a lot of my life is where it is because of Keller Williams and because of Gary and the collaboration and connecting some of the greatest minds in real estate throughout the country that I can pick up the phone and call is a luxury that I'm like, man, can I afford to give that up?
Right.
But I felt after going through enough of it and getting peace with it that it was the right decision. But I wanted the door open just in case it's not, that I can go back. And so, but analyzing it, getting support, trusted advisors to really take the emotion out of it and help you make a decision. They teach us in Keller Williams the whole black hat idea. So you kind of have that other person whose their job is just to pick it apart.
Right.
And
That's smart.
Sometimes it's humbling, but well, tell me why that. And even hiring someone, well, you got to defend the hire. You got to defend the investment. Why do you think it's good? What's the best case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? And take some time. And you have to have that trusted team to help you analyze it. Those people who will be honest with you, not those people who just say yes and shake their head, but people who will really care about you and will push back a little bit on ideas. Right.
And that's so true, right? Because they really care about your success instead of just, saying yes just because you're saying it. It's a big difference. I agree. I think, for me, until like 05, 04, I hadn't really, having a good CPA and a financial planner and a trust attorney and all of a sudden, man, this stuff's expensive. I'm setting this stuff up. But now I tell people, like, you need to get a trusted financial person early before you have money, not after, so that you can have money quicker. Taxes, you have to have the right person to help you strategize how to keep more of your hard-earned money. Because right now, you're well over 50 cents of every dollar is going to taxes in some way, whether it's income taxes or sales tax, so you've got to find a way. And by the way, there are strategies out there around this that are really built for the wealthy. It just doesn't feel that way because you're paying more, but there's so many strategies and ways around. I'm not saying I love taxes. I'm not saying that in any way, but the reality of it is we're going to have to pay it. I might as well try to pay as little as I can. Absolutely. And leverage it to create more opportunities. And so I think it's that, some people don't feel like worthy of that, or that I'm going to be, whether wealthy or whatever the word is. Wealth means a lot of things to a lot of different people. It's not always money. But I think that if you're going to be a leader, you've got to take the first step on a lot of this stuff so that you can help other people. A lot of the people on my team use our financial planner now, use our CPA, use people. That's great. And by the way, you outgrow relationships over time too. That doesn't mean anybody's bad. You're not judging. It's just over time, things you outgrow. And I've told my kids that since they were little. I said, there's going to be friendships that you're going to outgrow because you're heading in a trajectory. Your life, you want it to be here. And it's funny to hear them now, like, yep, you were right. Like I said, it's nothing wrong with, it doesn't mean you can't be friends with somebody. You're not looking down on people, but you also can't allow them to hold you back. And so many people, it's easy to play safe than it is to put some risk out there. And, my coach had said to me, he talked about, kind of your brain. And I'm like, okay, I'm not getting into all this stuff. I didn't study any of that, but
your amygdala is the front of your brain, and that's
Right.
your fight or flight. And so naturally, if it doesn't know something, it's going to tell you all the negatives and try to protect you. And when people think about it, you're like, oh, that's true. I have not done that before. So it's telling me all the reasons subconsciously not to do it. And you've got to push it through that to get to your rational brain and give it time. And that's, conversations, that's emotions. And too many people don't do that. They react too quickly. And I think it's just as you grow, you learn to take those steps and process differently.
Yeah. Gosh, Kenny, I feel like we just had like a master class in like real estate leadership. I'm so glad to have you here. We're like we're already at the end. Like we're out of time. Thank you so much.
I'm a talker. That's the problem. I got to work on that, but
no, it's this is great. I'm like over
just
here, like
sharing,
just trying to like absorb as much as I can. So where can people learn about you if they want to learn more about you?
That's
best place to find you.
I mean, I guess, obviously I'm social media. Live with No Regrets is our new Facebook page. I know several people that are very active in it, and I get a lot of great comments on it. It's just meant to share that idea of live with no regrets, and people share experiences and positive quotes. And it also gets into the financial side of it, of not retiring with a bunch of money and then giving it to kids and stuff. It's spending it now with them and enjoying that with them and helping them invest in learning, because you earn those conversations. And it's a lot more fun. I'd rather be on my deathbed knowing my kids are financially safe, not hoping that they don't screw it up if we leave them some money. So, so I'd say, Facebook's great. Obviously our website, or my email, Kenny at Klaus team and all that. So
awesome. Thank you so much, Kenny.
You're very welcome. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you had your notebooks and you were writing everything down as fast as you can. Re-listen to this one again. It has a ton of great content. You guys have a great one. Thanks.
Thank you.
These my dollars, make it hurt.